It's like the second I sit down to record, I suddenly have absolutely nothing to say. You know, it would help if I planned these things out in advance. New Year's resolutions. What are we landing on? Oh, my earrings. That would be good. If I wore the thing that I planned on wearing. There we go. Now I'm a fashion boy. Alright. I keep readjusting in this chair because I am slouching to fit into frame. So I keep wanting to sit up, but then that's not right. I could just zoom the camera out. What then? What happens then? I'll allow it. It's not great. I guess it's better. I can lean in. Alright. New Year's resolutions. What'd we land on? And by we, I mean me. As with last year, I have picked a guiding word or guiding phrase that is meant to be my theme for the year. Last year it was head first. This year, the theme is out loud, meaning my general goal for the year is to be much more vocal and much more public with the things that I'm doing, sharing more about what I'm getting up to, any accomplishments, big or small, that sort of thing. We'll see how it feels. You know, there's always that part of me that thinks that anytime I'm sharing anything at all, I'm solely and exclusively doing it for attention, which means then if I keep it to myself, then I did it, you know, with a pure heart. I wasn't doing it for ulterior motives to get noticed or get seen. I was doing something just for the sake of doing it. And that's probably a flawed way of thinking about things, but that's how I, test myself, is if I do something and keep it to myself, then I, genuinely wanted to do it, or it was, I had genuine motivation to do it, rather than doing it for the purpose of sharing the fact that I did it with other people. But I think it is true that one can want to participate in an activity and also want to share that thing. And maybe it's not for attention, maybe it's because you're proud of yourself or something, I don't know. So this year the attempt is to try to be more public with things that I'm doing so that I can try to maybe kick this mindset, but also just to share the things that I'm doing, because there is a lot of stuff that I'm doing that I think is really cool that I don't tell anyone about. So I'm trying to push myself to do it more. I have some tangible, concrete goals, and then some that are more nebulous, more vibes-based. When it comes to tangible numerical goals for hobbies, I saw a creator I follow right around New Year's post that for her numerical resolutions or numerical goals for hobbies are out. And I love that for other people. I don't know how widespread that thinking is for, people who want to, read 50 books or watch 50 movies in a year. I don't know if that's, I don't like the idea that there are certain New Year's trends, but I don't know if, reading goals are out of trend. I don't think they are, because I saw also plenty of people posting about reading goals as well. But that got me thinking about why I wanted to make a numerical reading goal for myself. And I think it's to hold myself accountable. If I just made a nebulous goal of, I want to read more this year, great, that's fine. A, what does that mean? What does that look like? And B, I don't know if I necessarily would do that, just if I had this vague goal of doing something more. Part of picking a number to strive for is to push myself to do more of the thing that I already want to do. I, like everyone else, maybe not everyone, but a lot of people, have a problematic relationship to technology, to my phone and to my computer, and having a goal to read more things, and we'll talk about what the number is in a minute, but having a goal to read more makes me feel motivated to actually strive towards that concrete, tangible thing. Because if the nebulous vibe is read more, great, cool, I'm just gonna be on YouTube 24/7. That's just what's gonna happen. If I have a thing that I can reach for, and I know how I need to pace myself throughout the year, then I'm more likely to say no. I already want to read, I have the motivation to read, and now I have the extra kick in the ass to actually make it happen, rather than just feeling in my heart like, oh, I want to read, and then not being able to rip myself away from a 4-hour video essay. So, for this year, I have decided that my goal is 35 books. Last year my goal was 25, and I ended up reading 34. So I think, especially since I'm planning on reading a few longer books this year, I think having a goal that could have been meetable last year if I had paced differently, having that be the goal for this year, I think is both a push and is also doable. I think if I set it to something like 50, that would be a little bit too much. I think that would be a little bit too out of the reach, and I would end up just reading like 10 plays on the last day of December just to like hit that goal. So I wanted it to be something to strive for, as well as something that was meetable. Because I also don't want to spend the year like feeling like a failure or like disappointed in myself. So I want there to be a number to hit, but I also don't want to like set myself up to feel let down, you know? So my number for the year is 35. Another numerical goal that I've picked for the year is I would like to watch 50 movies. I told that to my sister, and she was like, is that gonna happen? But that nets out to less than 1 movie a week, and I think that's extremely doable. We're halfway through the month, and I've already watched 3. So, and like, given the amount of time I spend on YouTube, I could conceivably watch like 4 a day and meet it, you know, in 2 weeks. But I have been wanting to watch more movies, especially more movies that are new to me, you know, work through my watch list. I do like going to the movies, but it's also nice to just be at home with some sort of crafting project and watching something. Usually if I'm at home, I'm rewatching movies, which I guess makes sense. And I'm not saying they exclusively have to be 50 new to me movies. I think that would be going a little too far. I want there to be the room and flexibility to be able to have a Lord of the Rings marathon or rewatch any of the, you know, Disney animated movies, just to have something where I can turn my brain off. But again, a goal that is a push from last year. I think on my watch list last year there were like 46 things, but that included TV shows. So with a little extra effort, I think it's very doable. But again, I'm making it a little bit of a bigger number to inspire myself to put in that extra effort. When it comes to crafting, specifically for sewing, I want to have 5 finished articles of clothing by the end of the year. Last year I picked 3, and that was very easily done. So I think this year we're gonna do 5. I want to sew more. I just also have to clean this room because I use the floor as my cutting space, and right now the floor is sort of covered in stuff. So I do have to clean up to actually like make that happen. But I want to keep up sewing, learn more about sewing. I feel like I just sort of jumped into it and now I've sort of let it stagnate, and I want I want to get more back into it. For other crafts, I didn't set a goal. I do have some knitting projects that I'm planning on working on. I have a scarf that I've been working on for years at this point. I just sort of dip back into it whenever I just want something to do with my hands. And it's on really little needles, and there's a lot of cables, so it's working up very slowly. So that one I'm like not in a rush to finish. I do have a couple of projects that I want to at least start this year or get going. There's one that I bought the yarn for, I'm just waiting for it to come in. But I didn't set any numerical goals for knit or crochet just because I know those, for me, are more of a time passer or like a fidget hobby rather than something where I'm like striving for the finished object. I am excited to have the finished object when I'm done with them, and I'm not picking pieces just to have something to fiddle with. Like, I do pick patterns that I know I'm going to use once I'm done with them, but I'm not a speed knitter. I'm not here to, you know, crank out 5 sweaters in a month. That's not why I knit. I knit just to, like, have a calming, repetitive thing to do. So that one is more of a vibes goal of just, like, I want to craft and use my hands a lot, but I'm not holding myself to, you know, finishing 5 sweaters by the end of the year. I think, now that I think about it, I do want to have made a sweater or started a sweater this year because I've never made a sweater. I've only ever made hats and scarves. I did start a pair of socks one time, and there's half of a tube sitting over in my WIP pile. So I've never actually made any other wearables other than hats and scarves. So I would like to make a sweater. The project that I purchased yarn for is a vest, so I do want to start expanding my skill set, expanding my horizons in that way, but that's more of a, I would like to start it, get into it. I don't have to finish a sweater by the end of the year. That feels like overkill to me. Another thing creatively I would like to do is to finish 2 syllabi. In college, I took a playwriting class where in the spring semester we had to create our own syllabus, and we had to pick something to respond to creatively every single week. It could be a reading, it could be a piece of music, it could be some sort of performance, it could be an outing, like a museum visit or something. And last year I tried to do one where I responded to something every single day, and that was overkill. That was fully overkill. And I told my professor about it, and she was like, that's a lot. You need days off. You simply need days off. So I would like to pick 2 months this year where I make a list of something to see or listen to or somewhere to go, like a museum or a park or something, and respond to it artistically. The course called them irrational responses. So, you know, not like a literary analysis, academic writing, like, oh, you know, when Bart said this, what he meant was you were supposed to respond to it more from your unconscious rather than using your cerebellum. I think for that, since it's not a full semester, I would just be picking 2 months. I think I'm gonna try doing 2 per week just to get a little bit more in there, but I would like to do that twice this year. And then in terms of less concrete goals, more things to aim for that aren't necessarily in my control, but things I would like to get done or like to happen and put the effort into attempting to get them to happen. I would like to get cast in a show. I would like to do fight choreography for another show. I would like to find gainful employment, and I would like to move out. We'll see if any of those happen. Right now, I'm in a place where the job hunt is sort of leading me to realize that in the meantime, I need to find other things to do.
at the very least just to get out of the house, because I just sort of sit inside all day and don't really do anything.
So I need to find some sort of like part-time thing or a couple of part-time things just to find some sort of schedule and routine again, because I did have that before when I was working part-time, but I needed to leave that job. So now I just don't have anything going on, so I need to find something while I look for a more gainful thing. The plan right now is to hopefully find a 9-to-5 so that I can make enough money to move out, but only so much I can do about that other than keep sending in applications. So in the meantime, I think I just need to find a job or a couple jobs. And I've started looking for some of those, but I like, you know, I think I need to get my butt in gear. And then a lot of the same vibes-based goals that I had set last year. I still want to continue consuming my nicest things. And then, you know, just generally wanting to start clearing out things for my life. I have a whole other video I could make about the dilemma I'm in about hoarding and environmentalism and like my feelings of conflict between the two, or struggle between the two. But that's a whole separate discussion that I can talk about later. But yeah, that's where I am with this year. I have, you know, quite a number of numerical things that I want to hit, some things that I want to happen where the tangibility of them happening is less about them themselves and more about the steps that I take to make them happen. And it might sound like, oh, the sun is lighting me up for this for these final thoughts. They might sound like a lot as I'm describing them and talking through them, but it really is like read books, watch movies, partake in my hobbies, get a job. Like, at the end of the day, that's what it is. I've just numerified it to actually motivate myself to, again, finding ways to motivate myself to do the things that I actually want to do. But yeah, I think I said this in a different video, but these are my ways of finding ways to be internally motivated rather than externally motivated. Having numbers to hit or specific goals to reach, I think, helps me turn my engine on rather than just sort of vaguely wanting something to happen, like, oh, it would be nice if I were reading right now, but alas, I cannot get off my phone. That's different than, I know that for myself, I want to read this many books this year, and if I want that to happen, I need to make the time, take this hour to sit down and focus on reading, or bring this book with me if I'm going out somewhere to read in the car or read on the train or whatever. Or, oh, I could rewatch this 4-hour video essay for the 12th time, or I could just turn on one of the movies from my watch list, which will be shorter, actually. So for me, the numbers just help reframe motivation, I think. I was gonna cut myself off by saying I'm rambling, but this entire video has been me rambling because I didn't take notes. And usually my videos are me rambling because I tend not to take notes. Anyway, maybe my next video will be about hoarding and environmentalism. We'll see. With that, I will leave you. I would say I hope your resolutions will serve you, but no one's watching. So, I'm talking to the void. I hope the void has some good resolutions this year. I hope the void has something it's striving for. Alright. See you next time.